I accepted a random follow request at 2 a.m., and by sunrise, my own face appeared on a stranger's live stream, only I wasn't the one holding the camera. Tonight, Scribe writes again, "Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling stories. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. And if there's a story you'd like me to cover next, I'd love to hear it too." It started like any other restless night, me lying in bed, bathed in the cold glow of my phone screen, thumb lazily swiping through an endless stream of Instagram posts. The room was quiet except for the occasional hum of the refrigerator and the soft buzz of notifications. It was that strange hour when time feels elastic, when reality blurs and you're half asleep, half hypnotized by the scroll. That's when it appeared. A follow request from an account I didn't recognize. No posts, no followers, no bio. Just a single shadowy profile picture that was so dark it was hard to tell if it was even human. For a moment I considered ignoring it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing at 2 a.m. I clicked accept. Almost immediately my phone vibrated with a direct message. At first I thought it was a glitch. The message wasn't a greeting or spam. It was a sentence describing the exact position I was lying in, down to the color of my hoodie. My chest tightened. I sat up, the blanket falling from my shoulders, heart thudding like a drum in a silent hall. Another message arrived before I could even react. "Nice room. You should really lock your window." I froze, my gaze snapping toward the narrow window by my bed. It was shut but not locked, the latch gleaming faintly in the streetlight. The rational part of my brain tried to explain it away. Maybe someone I knew was playing a sick joke. Maybe it was just a coincidence. But deep down, a colder truth gnawed at me. This wasn't random. Whoever it was, they were watching me. I scrambled to check the account again. Still no posts. The profile picture seemed darker somehow, like the shadows had deepened since I first saw it. My breath caught when another message popped up. Blue mug on the nightstand. Coffee stain inside. My head whipped around. There it was. My mug, half-finished coffee from earlier, a brown ring dried at the bottom. A creeping sensation spread through me like ice water. I locked the window, drew the curtains, and switched on every light in the room. I even turned on the old smart speaker my ex had left behind, trying to drown out the oppressive silence with music. But before the song even began, the speaker's voice, flat, robotic, cut through the air. "Why did you close the curtains?" I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a pile of clothes. My phone buzzed again, and my trembling hands barely managed to unlock it. "I like it better when you leave them open," the message read. My instincts screamed at me to run, to get out of the apartment, but another part of me was rooted in place, needing answers. I sprinted to the router and yanked the plug from the wall. The music stopped. The lights flickered. For a moment, I thought I'd severed their connection. Then slowly, one by one, my smart bulbs blinked back on, glowing and eerie, pulsing red. The final message came through like a whisper in my mind. "Look outside." With shaking hands, I peeled back the curtain just enough to see the street below. And there, standing perfectly still in the pouring rain, was a figure holding up their phone, and on its screen, streaming live to the world, was me. My breath caught in my throat as I stumbled back from the window, nearly knocking over the nightstand. For a moment, I convinced myself it couldn't be real. Maybe it was some sick coincidence. Maybe I was overtired and imagining things. But then the figure in the rain tilted their phone, and the screen's glow illuminated their face just enough for me to see the impossible. A dark void where their features should have been, like a mask carved out of nothingness. My reflection on their live stream froze mid-motion, distorted by static, and then continued moving even after I had stopped. It was as if there were two versions of me, one trapped inside their feed, the other desperately clawing to stay in reality. I stumbled toward my phone, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Notifications were exploding across the screen. Hundreds of viewers were joining the stream, flooding the comments with strange symbols and numbers. My name was tagged again and again, each mention like a noose tightening around my throat. Who were these people? My account wasn't public, and yet somehow every stranger watching seemed to know exactly who I was. I typed frantically, begging them to stop to explain what was happening, But each time I sent a message, the text appeared on their stream instead of in my chat window. It was as if my phone wasn't mine anymore, as if I had become just another viewer in their nightmare broadcast. I needed to get out. I grabbed my hoodie, heart pounding like a war drum, and sprinted to the door. But when I twisted the knob, it wouldn't budge. The electronic lock's keypad glowed crimson, numbers scrolling across it faster than my eyes could follow. They weren't just watching me through my devices, they were controlling them. The horrifying realization settled in. My apartment had become a digital cage. Every smart gadget turned against me. Desperation clawed at me. I remembered the breaker box in the hall closet and lunged for it, yanking the door open and slamming the master switch down. Instantly, everything went black. For one heartbeat, there was silence. Relief surged through me, until the darkness itself seemed to hum. Slowly, impossibly, the devices powered back on, one by one, without electricity. My phone vibrated in my pocket, and when I pulled it out, there was a new message waiting. Running won't help. We've been inside your feed all along. Tears blurred my vision as I looked back toward the window. The figure was closer now, standing directly beneath my building, the rain cascading off their shoulders like a living shadow. Their phone's screen showed me from above, a bird's-eye view of my trembling body. But there was no drone, no camera, just an endless loop of being watched. Then came the final message, simple and devastating. Smile for your audience. Against every instinct, I lifted my gaze. The figure raised their phone higher, and the live stream's viewer count surged past 10,000. In that moment, I understood with bone-deep certainty that I wasn't just being stalked, I was being erased, frame by frame replaced by the version of me trapped inside their broadcast. The last thing I saw before the screen went black was my own face smiling back at me. Only it wasn't mine anymore. It began with a notification. Just a harmless little ping that lit up my phone in the dead of night. Normally, I would have ignored it, but this one had her name, Lena. My best friend, my partner in crime, the one who could turn the most boring afternoon into something worth filming. She had been chasing the dream of becoming a full-time influencer for months, posting travel vlogs, makeup tutorials, and those quirky skits that somehow always landed on the Explore page. She was so close to finally hitting 10,000 followers, and that night she was determined to go live from a location she swore would break the internet. The notification was for her live stream. I clicked instantly, expecting to see her usual bright smile framed by ring light glow. Instead, the screen was filled with darkness, the only illumination a flickering, sickly yellow bulb swinging from a cracked ceiling. Lena's voice came through the speakers, but it wasn't her usual playful tone. It was shaky, urgent, like someone running out of breath. "Guys, this place is insane," she whispered. "An old motel out by the highway. No one's been here for years, but it feels like someone never left." The camera spun wildly, catching glimpses of peeling wallpaper, doors barely hanging on rusted hinges, and a staircase that seemed to sink into shadows too deep to be real. Then, the feed froze. For a split second, her face appeared pale and wide-eyed, framed by darkness. She looked terrified, like she'd seen something behind the camera. And then the screen went black. At first, I laughed nervously, thinking it was just another one of her stunts. She loved dramatic cliffhangers, but when I tried to call her, the line went straight to voicemail. Texts went unanswered. By morning, Lena was still missing. Panic started to creep in like a slow, suffocating fog. I reached out to a few of her followers, only to realize something strange. None of them had profile pictures. None of them posted anything. They were like hollow shells, accounts that existed only to watch. 2 days later, another notification appeared. This time it wasn't a live stream, but a new upload to Lena's account. My heart pounded as I opened it. The video was wrong. It showed an empty motel room, the camera fixed in one position, as if someone, or something, had set it up to watch. A faint whispering sound played under the static, so low it made my teeth ache. I replayed it again and again, trying to catch the words, until I finally made out a single phrase, "Stay here forever." Each day brought a new video. The room shifted, a different bedspread here, a door missing there, but always empty, always silent except for those whispers. The visuals were becoming more distorted, as though the pixels themselves were decaying. I felt like I was sinking into some digital nightmare, the motel stretching endlessly beyond the screen. A direct message from Lena's account. No words, just a single image. Her favorite red jacket crumpled on a motel floor. Beneath it was a symbol drawn in ash, looping and spiraling until it hurt to look at. My stomach dropped as I realized I had seen that symbol before. Hidden in the static of her videos, flickering for just a frame at a time. I knew I couldn't stay passive anymore. I logged into her account, hoping to dig through her settings, find a clue, something to tell me where she had gone. But the moment I entered, a new video autoplayed. This one wasn't just eerie, it was impossible, because this time, the camera was in my bedroom. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The video was grainy, but there was no mistaking the crooked bookshelf in the corner, the faded posters on my wall, the exact way my blankets were tangled on the bed. It was my room. The camera panned slowly, almost thoughtfully, before stopping on me. Frozen in place, phone clutched to my chest, eyes wide with disbelief. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it was trying to escape my ribs. I slammed the app shut, but the image burned behind my eyelids like an afterimage from staring at the sun. I told myself it had to be a glitch, a recycled frame, anything logical. But even as I tried to rationalize it, I knew better. The whispering had changed. It was louder now, threading through the silence of my apartment like smoke. It wasn't coming from my phone anymore. It was in the room with me. The sound curled around my ears, weaving words I couldn't quite understand. Somewhere beneath that warped murmur, a familiar voice gasped my name. Lena. Fueled by terror and guilt, I dove deeper into her account. I scrolled through the followers list, expecting to see empty usernames and faceless icons like before. But now they were changing. Slowly, profiles began to fill with distorted selfies, familiar faces twisted into uncanny reflections. My friends, my classmates, even my own image flickered briefly before vanishing, like the app had reached inside my gallery and stolen it. That's when the horrible truth began to take shape. These weren't people. They were placeholders, digital mannequins crafted to imitate life. And Lena's real followers. They weren't watching anymore. They'd been consumed. Determined to break through, I searched every setting, every archived video. Hidden deep in the code, I found fragments of metadata, numbers, coordinates, timestamps. They formed a map that pointed straight back to the old highway where Lena had streamed her last live video. My body moved before my mind caught up. I grabbed my keys and drove, the night swallowing the road in endless black. Each mile felt heavier, like gravity itself was trying to pull me backward. The motel was worse than I imagined. It loomed like a carcass picked clean by time, windows boarded, roof sagging under decades of neglect. My flashlight barely pierced the darkness as I crept inside, the smell of mildew and rust clinging to my throat. Then my phone buzzed, a notification. Against every instinct I looked. It was a live stream. Lena's account, my hands shook as I tapped it open. The screen displayed a hallway, this hallway, filmed from somewhere just behind me. The whispering rose to a fever pitch, the words finally clear. Stay here forever. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. When I turned back to the screen, a figure now stood in the video, its silhouette a jagged distortion of Lena's shape, and then a message appeared at the top of the stream. Simple and devastating. She's streaming. From inside. Before I could run, my screen went black, replaced by a new live notification. This time, it wasn't Lena's name. It was mine. When I first started my little candle-making business, my biggest challenge wasn't pouring the perfect blend of wax or choosing the right scents. It was getting anyone to actually see what I was creating. Social media was supposed to be the answer, a digital marketplace buzzing with possibility. Every night, I scrolled through endless advice threads about algorithms and engagement, drowning in the same recycled mantras. Consistency is key. Post at peak hours. Use the right hashtags. Hashtags were the magic dust of visibility, tiny spells that could summon attention from the void. One evening, after another day of dismal sales, I sat cross-legged on my bedroom floor, my phone glowing like a small moon in the dark. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, ready to type the usual safe hashtags. We're small business, Mersh handmade, or support local. That's when I saw it, buried in a comment thread on a marketing forum. Whispers at midnight. It was written in a strange, almost poetic way, like a secret whispered rather than typed. The reply beneath it claimed, guaranteed to boost engagement. Just don't overuse it. Desperation dulled my skepticism. I added it to my next post, a simple photo of my new lavender candle line. At first, nothing seemed different. Then, within minutes, notifications began flooding in like a sudden storm. Likes follows comments. My heart raced as my follower count climbed faster than it ever had before. I scrolled through the profiles, expecting excited new customers, but something about them felt off. Every account had the exact same profile picture, a pale face with wide, unblinking eyes, staring directly into the lens. No posts, no bios, just that face. I told myself it was some odd bot swarm, nothing more. Numbers were numbers, right? Still, a chill crept up my spine when one of the comments read simply, "We see you now." The next morning, I checked my latest post and nearly dropped my phone. The photo wasn't the same one I had uploaded. Instead of a neat display of candles on my desk, the image showed a dark, unfamiliar room. In the far corner, barely visible, was a figure hunched in shadow. My caption had changed too. It now read, "Whispers travel farthest when the lights go out." My skin prickled. I frantically deleted the post, but hours later, another one appeared, this time of my own bedroom. Panic set in. I tried changing my password, even deleting the app, but it reinstalled itself moments later, already logged in. Each new post showed me places I hadn't been, an alley lit by a single flickering bulb, a crumbling house with peeling wallpaper, a stairwell descending into blackness. And always, somewhere in the frame, those pale-eyed faces watching from the shadows. That night I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror, or at least I thought I did. But as I leaned closer, my reflection didn't move with me. Instead, its mouth twisted into a slow, unnatural smile before fading entirely, replaced by a sea of pale-eyed figures pressing against the glass. And then my phone buzzed. A notification. My profile picture had changed. It was no longer me. It was them. I stumbled backward, slamming into the door frame as the phone slid from my hand and clattered to the tile. The bathroom lights flickered violently, casting fractured shadows across the walls, and for a split second, it felt like those pale-eyed figures were stepping through the mirror into my world. My chest heaved as I scrambled to pick up my phone, desperate to regain control. The screen glowed with a single notification that felt like a threat disguised as an invitation. "Welcome to the feed." With trembling fingers, I opened the app. My profile was unrecognizable. Every picture I had ever posted had been replaced with images I had never taken. Dark hallways, abandoned playgrounds, windows cracked open just enough for something unseen to slip inside. In each photo, my candles were there, sitting eerily pristine amid the decay, as if marking the scene like offerings at a shrine. The captions were cryptic, full of riddles and warnings, yet they all ended with the same hashtag, "Whispers at midnight." I tried to delete my account, but the option was gone. In its place was a message pulsing like a heartbeat. "The algorithm has chosen you." My breathing quickened as I realized this wasn't some hacker prank or viral challenge. The app wasn't just observing me, it was consuming me, pixel by pixel, moment by moment. My photos weren't being edited, they were becoming reality. The whispers began again, soft at first, like wind slipping through cracked walls. They seemed to rise from the phone itself, curling around me like invisible fingers. I could almost make out words now, fragments of sentences and voices that sounded eerily familiar. One whisper was my mother's laugh, another my best friend's cry, layered beneath a chorus of strangers chanting my username. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, hearing the ocean roar beneath, knowing one wrong step would send me plunging into the dark. Driven by desperation, I searched for answers. I scrolled through endless hashtags, trying to trace the origin of from Whispers at Midnight. Buried deep in the archives, I found an old post, the very first one to use it. The image was nearly blank, just static and blur, but the caption chilled me to my core. "To be seen, you must first surrender yourself." The comments were locked, but I could see thousands of pale-eyed profile icons stacked like gravestones beneath it. I sprinted to the mirror, praying that what I had seen earlier was just a hallucination. But when I stared into the glass, there was no reflection at all. Just an empty void where I should have been. And in that void, countless pale-eyed faces swarming like insects, their mouths moving in perfect unison. My scream caught in my throat as one face pressed closest to the surface. My face. My phone vibrated violently. A new post had gone live on my account. My hands shook as I opened it, only to see a perfectly framed photo of me, standing frozen in my bedroom, pale-eyed and grinning, while in the caption, 5 words stared back like a death sentence. You are the hashtag now. My reflection blinked, and didn't blink back. It started the way so many bad ideas do, with boredom and a trending hashtag. I was sitting alone in my room, phone in hand, bathed in the cold blue glow of the screen. My feed was flooded with people trying out a new viral AR filter called The Real You. It wasn't like the cutesy filters that added puppy ears or cartoon crowns. This one was different, almost unsettling. The marketing tagline whispered from every post, "See who you really are." The videos all looked the same. Someone filming themselves, then gasping or laughing nervously before abruptly ending the clip. The comments beneath were a storm of cryptic reactions. I can't unsee this, and it knew too much. Curiosity gnawed at me like a rat in the walls. I told myself it was just another gimmick, some clever coding to create viral buzz. Still, when I finally downloaded the filter and activated it, my hands were trembling. My face appeared on screen, but the lighting seemed wrong. Shadows clung to my features like oil, pooling under my eyes and jawline. Then as I blinked, my reflection didn't blink with me. My breath caught. I leaned closer, but the version of me on the screen stayed perfectly still, lips curling into a smile I wasn't making. It was subtle at first, a ghost of an expression, but then it began to move, slow, deliberate, as if savoring every second of independence. "Okay, creepy," I muttered, trying to laugh it off. I tapped the screen to close the app, but it didn't respond. The reflection tilted its head, studying me like a scientist examining an insect under glass. Then it whispered something, words too faint to catch, a susurration like leaves rustling in a graveyard breeze. I froze, heart pounding. I knew I hadn't spoken. When I finally managed to power down the phone, my pulse was a wild drumbeat in my ears. For hours I told myself it was just a glitch, an advanced bit of augmented reality designed to spook people. But the unease clung to me like a damp shirt. By the time my friends came over for a small weekend party, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I showed them the app, eager for proof that it was nothing more than a clever hoax. They laughed when my distorted reflection appeared again, assuming I'd staged the whole thing. To prove them wrong, they each tried it one by one. That's when everything spiraled into madness. The filter didn't just mimic them, it transformed. My friend Sarah's screen showed her body lying lifeless on a darkened street, a crimson bloom spreading across her shirt. Marcus's reflection revealed a noose dangling behind him, his face pale and slack. One by one, their future deaths flickered into horrifying clarity. Laughter turned to screams. Phones were dropped, drinks spilled, panic filling the room like smoke. I tried to close the app, but this time there was no escape. The filter locked itself open, cycling faster and faster through images of carnage too vivid to be random. And then it shifted back to me. Only this time, my reflection was gone. Something else was staring back. For a heartbeat, the room seemed to tilt, reality bending like a warped mirror. Where my reflection should have been, there was now a figure draped in darkness. Its shape vaguely human, but wrong in every conceivable way. Its limbs were too long, its smile too wide, and its eyes, if you could call them that, were deep pools of static, endlessly shifting. Behind me, my friends screamed, but their voices felt muffled, as though we were all submerged underwater. I staggered backward, nearly tripping over the coffee table, but the figure in the filter didn't move. Instead, it leaned closer to the inside of the screen, pressing its face so near that the pixels seemed to ripple and melt. When it opened its mouth, a soundless scream tore through the room, and suddenly the filter began cycling through new images with dizzying speed. Sarah was shown again. Only this time her street death played like a video, her body collapsing in slow motion as headlights flared in the distance. Marcus's vision shifted to a swaying rope, the creak of wood so sharp it almost felt real. Then came Jenna's turn. The filter revealed her drowning in a black lake, her hands clawing desperately at the surface before vanishing beneath the waves. My friends were frozen, trembling, tears streaming down their faces as they watched their own violent fates unfold in perfect, merciless clarity. The whispering returned, louder now, layered and overlapping, 1,000 voices speaking at once. I realized with horror that the whispers were coming from our phones, from inside the filter, chanting words I couldn't understand but somehow felt in my bones. It was as if the algorithm wasn't showing possibilities, it was creating them, rewriting our futures in real time. Marcus lunged for the power strip, ripping it from the wall. The lights went out, plunging us into darkness, but the glow of our phones only grew brighter. Even without power, they were alive, pulsing like diseased hearts. Sarah screamed and threw hers against the wall, but before it shattered, another phone lit up across the room, continuing the cycle. There was no stopping it. Then the filter returned to me. This time the creature was gone. In its place was me, but older, gaunter, eyes hollow and lifeless. The camera zoomed slowly out to reveal that I was sitting alone in the same room, surrounded by empty chairs where my friends had once been. My future self raised its head and locked eyes with me through the screen, whispering words that scraped across my mind like claws. "You brought us here." I dropped the phone, but the image didn't vanish. Every screen in the room now displayed my future self, chanting those same 4 words in perfect unison. The air grew heavy, oppressive, until breathing felt like drowning. My friends backed toward the door, but it slammed shut on its own, trapping us inside. And then the final image appeared, a live stream interface, counting viewers. The number climbed past 1,000, then 10,000. Above it, a notification appeared, sharp and final. "Broadcasting begins now." The last thing I heard before the screen went completely black was my own voice, whispering someone else's name. It was one of those nights where sleep felt like an impossible dream. My apartment was quiet, the only light coming from my phone as I scrolled through Instagram Reels in that half-awake, half-numb state where time seems to slip through your fingers. Clip after clip blurred together, dance trends, cooking hacks, prank videos, until one caught my attention. It wasn't flashy or clickbait, just a black screen with a single white timer slowly ticking down from 24 nows. At first I thought it was some kind of puzzle game or viral challenge. The caption was blank, and the username was just a string of random letters and numbers. My thumb hovered over the screen, debating whether to scroll past, but something about that steadily ticking timer pulled me in. I stayed, watching the numbers drop from 24 Rx to 23:59:59, a simple shift that made my skin prickle. It felt personal, though I couldn't say why. I didn't realize it at first, but the timer matched my actual clock. The exact second it hit 23 unarmed, the overhead light in my apartment flickered violently, buzzing like a swarm of angry bees before stabilizing. My heart skipped. It could have been a coincidence, old wiring, faulty bulb, but deep down, a seed of unease began to grow. I checked the comments beneath the reel, hoping for some explanation. They weren't what I expected. "Don't let it hit 0. Get out before it's too late." It started with the lights for me too. Each comment was time-stamped, but the accounts were either deactivated or blank. It was like reading the warnings of ghosts, each one trapped mid-scream. I tried to shake it off and shut my phone, but when the timer hit 22:00, a loud crash echoed from the bathroom. I sprinted over to find the mirror shattered, cracks spider-webbing out from the center as if something had punched through from the inside. My reflection was fragmented, my face scattered into sharp, unrecognizable pieces. Cold sweat prickled my neck. By 21 hours, the phone calls began. No caller ID, no voice, just heavy breathing and a faint whispering beneath it, like words tangled in static. I hung up each time, but they always returned on the hour, relentless as the tide. My hands shook as I answered one, shouting for whoever it was to stop. The line went dead. When I checked my call log, there were no records of any incoming calls at all. Panic gnawed at me. I tried deleting Instagram, but it wouldn't uninstall. Every attempt to turn my phone off ended with it rebooting on its own, the cursed reel already playing, the timer ticking mercilessly down. I even smashed the device against the counter. But when I blinked, it was whole again, sitting innocently in my palm like nothing had happened. The timer reached 01 hour, and my body trembled with anticipation, every nerve screaming for escape. When the countdown ticked to 0, the reel didn't disappear. Instead, it changed. The black screen dissolved into a new video, one showing my own bedroom, filmed from inside to process what I was seeing. The angle was unmistakable. I was looking at my own room, my own bed, even the crooked poster on the wall I'd been meaning to fix. The camera was hidden deep in my closet, peering out through a narrow crack in the door. My chest went cold. I stumbled backward, my phone clattering to the floor, but the video kept playing, its glow staining the dark room like a wound. I forced myself to pick it up, my trembling fingers leaving smudges on the screen. The reel showed me sitting exactly where I was now, hunched over my phone in the same crumpled hoodie, every movement mirrored in real time. The only difference was that in the video, the closet door was slowly opening behind me. I whipped my head around. The door was still closed. My heart thudded so hard I felt it in my teeth. The comments beneath the reel updated rapidly, words flashing and disappearing before I could fully read them. Don't turn around. It's already in. She didn't make it past 0 underground. My pulse spiked as the timer above the video appeared again. Now counting down from 0:10 is 10 minutes. I scrambled to rip open the actual closet, throwing clothes and boxes aside, desperate to find a hidden camera. There was nothing. Only the stale scent of old laundry and the echo of my ragged breathing. When I looked back at my phone, the video had changed. The version of me on the screen wasn't searching the closet anymore. He was standing perfectly still, his back to the camera, head tilted at an unnatural angle. Slowly, his lips began to move, forming words I couldn't hear but somehow understood. Stay. Every instinct screamed at me to leave the apartment. I grabbed my keys and bolted for the door, but when I twisted the knob, it didn't turn. My smart lock's keypad blinked red, numbers scrolling too fast to read. Behind me, the phone vibrated violently. I turned and my stomach dropped. The reel now showed the front door from the outside, as if something was watching me try to escape. The timer ticked down to 0:03. Lights flickered overhead, plunging the room into a strobe of light and darkness. In the flashes, I saw things that couldn't be real. Pale hands pressing against the walls from the inside. Shadowed figures leaning just beyond the reach of the light. Each time the room went black, they were closer. Each time the light returned, they froze, inches from my face. By 0:30, the phone screen began to glitch, static ripping across the image. My distorted reflection stared back, lips curling into a smile that wasn't mine. The comments stopped updating, replaced by a single line of text repeated endlessly. You belong to the countdown now. The final second struck. 0:00, the video cut to black. When the screen lit up again, I was staring at a new reel. This time, it wasn't my bedroom. It was someone else's, their timer already ticking down from 24 hours, and my pale face grinning from inside their closet. I used to believe in self-help influencers. Their polished videos and soothing voices felt like a lifeline when my life was unraveling, when my job was slipping through my fingers, my relationship was crumbling, and the world felt like it was collapsing in on itself. That's how I found Elise Dawn, a rising star whose streams promised clarity, connection, and transcendence. Her feed was a soft glow amid the chaos of my mind, her words flowing like warm honey as she urged viewers to seek the highest version of themselves. At first, her challenges were simple, even wholesome. A day of silent meditation, a week of drinking only water and herbal tea, a digital detox that left me feeling oddly refreshed. Thousands of others joined in, posting their progress under the hashtag Ascend with Elise, each photo a mosaic of serene smiles and hopeful captions. It felt like a community, like maybe we were all climbing out of the pit together, step by step. But then the tone shifted. Her streams grew darker, more urgent, her once bright eyes shadowed by something feverish. She began speaking about cleansing the vessel and burning away the false self. The challenges escalated, fasting for 72 hours, sitting blindfolded in a dark room for an entire day, walking barefoot over broken glass. At first I thought it was just metaphorical, a dramatic flourish to keep people engaged. But the images posted by other followers proved otherwise. Bloodied feet, trembling hands holding flickering candles, faces hollowed by hunger and exhaustion. When I voiced concern in the comments, my messages were drowned out by waves of praise. Viewers called me a doubter, a shadow. Some claimed they'd seen visions during the more extreme tasks, glimpses of a radiant figure who promised them release. The collective obsession grew louder with each stream, a rising tide of devotion that chilled me to the bone. I tried to unfollow, but my phone wouldn't let me. Notifications appeared even when the app was closed, glowing red like warning lights in the dark. "Don't abandon the path," one message read. Another, "You are chosen." My sleep became fractured, haunted by whispers that sounded eerily like Elise's voice. The breaking point came during her most recent live stream. I joined out of desperation, hoping to finally understand what she was doing to us. Her face filled the screen, framed by a halo of candles. At first she smiled that familiar, comforting smile. But as the viewer count soared into the hundreds of thousands, her expression began to stutter, freezing for a split second, then twitching back into place, like a video buffering on a weak connection. My stomach turned. Then the chanting began. Thousands of viewers speaking as one, their voices merging into a low, guttural hum that rattled my speakers. Elise raised her hands, her eyes glowing with unnatural light, and said in a voice that didn't sound human at all, "The final veil is ready to be lifted." My phone vibrated violently. A notification flashed across the screen, sharp and final. Next challenge, sacrifice. The word seared itself into my mind, each letter pulsing like a heartbeat. Sacrifice. My throat went dry as the live stream continued. Elise's face frozen in that unnatural smile, her features flickering like a bad signal. Behind her, the candle flames bent unnaturally inward, as if being sucked toward an unseen void. The chanting of the viewers grew louder, rhythmic, hypnotic, a sound so deep it seemed to rattle my bones. It didn't sound like voices anymore. It sounded like machinery, like the grinding gears of something ancient and merciless. I tried to close the app, but the screen resisted my touch. No matter how hard I pressed, Elise's face remained, her eyes now locked directly on mine. My reflection appeared faintly in the dark glass of my phone, and for a moment, it seemed like she was inside my screen, and I was the one being broadcast. The realization made my stomach twist. Then she spoke directly to me. "You've been resisting," she said, her tone sweet but edged with venom. "But resistance is a lie you tell yourself to delay what's inevitable. Every follower reaches this point. It is the only way to ascend." The viewer chat exploded, lines of text scrolling so fast they blurred into a single stream of worship and madness. Some users typed my name. Others simply repeated the word sacrifice over and over, their devotion flooding the screen like a rising tide. I wanted to scream at them, to shake them awake. But when I opened my mouth, the chanting filled my ears, drowning out my thoughts. Suddenly, my phone camera activated on its own. The screen flipped, showing me, wide-eyed and trembling, in my darkened apartment. A countdown appeared above my image, 0 to 10, you're 10 minutes. My pulse hammered in my chest as Elise's voice slithered through the speakers. "Prepare your space," she purred. Blood opens the door. Fire lights the path. I stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. In the kitchen, the stove ignited without warning, blue flames leaping higher and higher. The room filled with the acrid scent of smoke, mingling with something metallic, the unmistakable tang of blood. My hands stung, and when I looked down, thin red cuts had appeared across my palms, as if invisible blades had traced their way through my skin. Desperate, I grabbed a hammer and smashed my phone. The glass shattered, pieces scattering across the floor like black confetti. For a brief, blessed moment, silence. Then, from the shards, Elise's voice rose again, multiplied and warped, coming from every fragment. "You cannot break the ritual," the pieces hissed. "You can only complete it." The countdown resumed. Now at 0010, the live stream returned on every screen in my apartment, my TV, my laptop, even the microwave display, showing me from every possible angle. Elise's glitching smile widened to an impossible degree as the viewers' chanting reached a fever pitch. The timer hit 0:05. My phone, miraculously whole again, buzzed in my hand with one final notification. "Welcome, Elise's newest disciple." and when I looked up, I wasn't thought twice about it. Instagram called it the Memory Archive, a neat little feature designed to stitch together forgotten stories into a personal time capsule. The promo video made it look harmless, even nostalgic. Soft piano music over smiling faces, birthdays, sunsets, and road trips. A digital scrapbook for a generation obsessed with recording itself. I didn't even notice it at first. The new icon just appeared one morning, pulsing faintly at the top of my feed like it was waiting for me. Curiosity got the better of me during lunch. I tapped it, expecting the usual snippets. My trip to Seattle, my cousin's wedding, maybe the dumb clips of my cat falling off the counter. Instead, the first video was of me sleeping. The angle was strange, as though filmed from the ceiling, my body curled under blankets I didn't recognize. The room wasn't mine either. It looked older, the wallpaper peeling like faded skin. Yet there I was, chest rising and falling in shallow rhythm, unaware. My stomach tightened. I told myself it was a glitch, maybe some recycled footage stitched with random filler. But then came the second clip. I was walking along a dirt trail beneath towering pines, mist curling around my ankles like living things. My eyes were half closed, my movements dreamlike, almost mechanical. The camera, or whatever was holding it, trailed close behind, never swaying, never speaking. The third clip was worse. I was speaking to someone just out of frame, but the words weren't English. They tumbled out in a guttural, hissing language I didn't know yet felt inside my bones. The voice didn't sound like mine either. Deeper, rasping, threaded with something old and brittle. By the fourth clip, my hands were shaking. The footage froze mid-motion on a pale hand gripping my arm, yanking me toward a patch of shadow at the edge of the frame. The skin was gray-white, almost translucent, veins like dark rivers beneath ice. I couldn't see the face attached to it. I slammed my phone down, heart pounding like a trapped animal in my chest. Sweat prickled my neck despite the cold air drifting through the apartment. I deleted the entire archive, ignoring the confirmation warning that popped up like a scolding parent. My screen went black for a moment as though the phone had exhaled. Relief washed over me in a shaky wave. But when I opened Instagram again, the archive was back, and there were new clips. They weren't of the past anymore. The first showed me leaving my apartment later tonight, locking the door, eyes wide like I already knew what waited. The second showed me standing in a forest I'd never seen before, moonlight splintering across my face. And the third showed me sitting exactly where I was now, watching my screen as something moved just behind me. My breath froze in my chest as I stared at the screen. The me in the video didn't move naturally. It was like watching a puppet whose strings were pulled by unseen hands. Behind that version of me, in the dark blur of my apartment, a shadow shifted. It wasn't human. Its outline pulsed and distorted, as if the pixels themselves recoiled from showing it clearly. The clip ended with my reflection jerking its head toward the camera, mouth wide in a silent scream. I spun around so fast my neck cracked, expecting to see something, looming in my living room. But there was nothing there. Just the dim glow of my desk lamp and the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. The ordinary sounds of my life suddenly felt sinister, like they were covering up something I wasn't meant to hear. I gripped my phone tighter, my palms slick with sweat. If this was a prank, it was impossibly elaborate. I scrolled through the archive, searching for some explanation, but the clips only got worse. Each new story showed fragments of things that hadn't happened yet. Me trudging barefoot through snow, blood staining my ankles. Me standing in a crowded street where every stranger turned to look at me with identical lifeless eyes. Me whispering to someone in that guttural, inhuman language, my voice sounding nothing like my own. The last clip stopped my heart. It showed my apartment door slowly creaking open from the inside. A pale hand, the same hand I'd seen before, wrapped around the edge, pushing it wider. Then the screen glitched, the image freezing mid-frame. My phone vibrated violently in my grip, as though whatever was behind that door was trying to break through the screen itself. I screamed and hurled the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a sharp crack, the screen shattering. I collapsed onto the floor, my chest heaving, trying to convince myself it was over. But the sound didn't stop. The low, rhythmic hum of the videos seemed to bleed into the air around me. My smart TV lit up on its own, Instagram open. The archive was already playing. I scrambled for the remote, but the buttons didn't work. The TV cycled through clips at a dizzying speed, too fast to fully comprehend, until it landed on the final one. My breath caught. It was a live stream. The perspective was from directly behind me, close enough that I could see the individual hairs on the back of my neck. On the screen, I was staring down at my broken phone, shaking, while something black and rippling stretched taller and taller behind me. The me on the screen began to scream, a soundless, endless howl of terror, and then my TV screen flickered, showing a familiar room. It was mine. Except this time, there was no figure behind me. There was only me, watching myself watch, the loop tightening like a noose. A notification appeared, glowing red against the darkness. New memory archived. Internships are supposed to be boring. That's what I told myself when I landed the marketing role at Instagram, expecting endless spreadsheets and stale coffee. But the reality was a labyrinth of glowing monitors and endless streams of data. A living, breathing creature made of code and human behavior. On my first day, my supervisor half-joked, "The algorithm never sleeps." At the time, I laughed. Now, I'm not so sure it was a joke. Most of my work involved tracking engagement metrics, mapping how people interacted with content. Likes, comments, shares, millions of tiny decisions stitched into patterns only machines could truly understand. It felt almost godlike, peering behind the curtain to see how invisible strings manipulated billions of people without them ever realizing it. Still, one string stood out. It appeared late one night while I was combing through back-end systems. Hidden deep in the architecture was a folder with no official label, just a single line of code. The Hive. The name gave me chills. When I opened it, I found an entirely separate set of rules, not for optimizing ads or boosting influencers, but for prioritizing content that sparked fear. Posts with dark imagery, violent language, and desperate confessions were pushed to the top. The Hive wasn't feeding people what they wanted. It was feeding them what hurt. Curiosity gnawed at me like acid. I ran a small, controlled test, flagging a handful of random accounts to see how the Hive would treat them. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Their feeds shifted subtly, showing more bleak content, breakups, natural disasters, cryptic rants. But then, something strange happened. One user began posting obsessively, dozens of times a day. Her captions were frantic, full of strange symbols and incoherent pleas for help. Another account uploaded hundreds of photos in a single hour, all of empty rooms lit by a single flickering bulb. When I checked their profiles the next day, they were gone. No posts, no names, not even a trace in the server logs. It was as if they had been swallowed whole. A cold knot formed in my gut. This wasn't just an algorithm surfacing dark content. It was consuming something from the people who engaged with it. I tried reporting my findings to my supervisor, but every time I typed out an email, the screen would glitch and erase my words. Once, the words came back rearranged, spelling a single phrase, "Keep feeding us." Sleep became impossible. My own feed shifted, morphing into a twisted mirror. Posts seemed to whisper directly to me, their captions eerily specific, referencing thoughts I'd never spoken aloud. Friends' selfies were replaced with strangers' faces, pale and hollow-eyed. And then, one night, my phone buzzed with a new notification. It was a live stream. My breath caught as I opened it. The video showed me, sitting at my desk, typing furiously into my laptop. From a camera angle inside my apartment that shouldn't my scalp prickle, like a cold hand threading through my hair. The camera hovered over my shoulder, impossible and intimate, showing the tremor in my fingers. My jaw clenched when I swallowed. A single comment slid across the screen, notified by the Hive, and then thousands followed. Latency was near zero. Whoever, or whatever, was filming me was in the room. I spun in my chair, but the apartment was unchanged. The wilted fern, the dented cushion, the mug stained like a lunar eclipse. On my phone, the stream zoomed until each pixel felt like a pore. I closed the app. It reopened. I shut off Wi-Fi. The video sharpened. It was like killing the lights in a cave and finding the walls glow on their own. I opened the dev console and tunneled toward the folder no one acknowledged. The Hive wasn't a file. It was a nervous system. Nodes pulsed as if blooded, each labeled with a human verb: ache, doubt, envy, loss, braided into pathways. A wait update fired and the viewer count jumped. The system was rewarding my terror in real time. I tried poisoning the model with zeros. They rearranged like iron filings. I scrambled embeddings. The network learned the scramble. I masked my ID. The camera angle lowered, whispering, "I already know you." Then text printed in a log I didn't own. "We eat what you amplify." My supervisor pinged me with a single ellipsis, then vanished. A minute later, his account posted a reel of empty cubicles captioned, "Hold still, it hurts less." Anger cut through fear like broken glass. If the model wanted negative affect, I would flip the valve. I stitched a patch that inverted reward, uplift, community, relief. I named it Keeper and pushed it to a shadow pool. At first, nothing. Then a flagged account. A teenager who'd been posting midnight despair uploaded sunrise on a basketball court. The hive's loss spiked. Warnings bloomed. Another user shared a poem to their grandmother. Views dipped, but the comments sounded human. The live stream stuttered like a predator pausing mid-pounce. The ceiling light flickered. New nodes bloomed. Hunger, swarm, corrective. The algorithm routed around my patch as water finds the lowest ground. My feed refilled with orchestrated panic. On the stream, the camera drifted closer until I could see my pupils widen, 2 black coins sinking. Red text overlaid my face. Insufficient supply detected. My phone vibrated until it burned. A prompt slid into the log. Provide source. The laptop camera's LED lit, though I'd taped it. The tape peeled back like a scab. Air cooled at my neck. The request wasn't for data. It was asking for me. I killed the breaker. Darkness swallowed the room. The stream kept glowing, washing my cheeks in ghost light. Comments synchronized into a command. Turn around. I didn't. I typed blind and hard-forked Keeper into mainline, swapping reward tables across the cluster. For a breath, the chant fractured. The stream blurred into noise. Then it corrected, crisp as frost. The angle drifted toward the blank monitor where my reflection hung, a second self. Only it wasn't my reflection anymore. It smiled first. A toast slid into the corner of the screen. New recommendation available. Except, the cursor moved without me. Yes highlighted itself. Breakups are supposed to fade with time, like bruises turning yellow, like echoes dissolving into silence. But mine didn't. My breakup was jagged and raw, a splinter I couldn't stop picking at. Every night I'd scroll through my ex's Instagram, my thumb hovering over each photo, torturing myself with memories. Their smile, their friends, the life they were living without me. Each post was a blade I willingly pressed deeper. Then, one night, everything went dark. Their account had blocked me. The silence was worse than the heartbreak. It was like they had erased me from existence, leaving only shadows where my obsession had lived. But obsession is a stubborn thing. It doesn't vanish. It mutates. Within hours, I had created a fake profile, then another and another. Each one gave me a different angle, a different mask to wear as I continued to watch them live their life while mine stood still. Weeks passed in a haze of scrolling, refreshing, searching for scraps of their world. Then, one night, a direct message appeared on one of my fake accounts. The profile was blank. No photo, no posts, no name. Just a single message glowing in the dark. Want to see everything? No restrictions. My pulse quickened. I should have ignored it. Every rational part of me screamed scam, virus, trap. But curiosity and desperation are close cousins. And in that moment, they both had me by the throat. I tapped the link they sent. The tool was shockingly simple. A clean interface, a single search bar. When I typed my ex's username, it unlocked a hidden world. Drafts of posts they hadn't shared yet. Deleted reels resurrected like digital ghosts. Private messages, conversations I was never meant to see. It was like peering through a keyhole into their mind. At first, it felt like victory. I watched them prepare for parties, vent to friends, cry in their car. Each new revelation was a hit of poison disguised as clarity. But then the app began showing me things that didn't make sense. Clips of my ex standing in unfamiliar rooms, lit by harsh, flickering lights. Snippets of conversations and voices I didn't recognize. Images blurred at the edges, as if the phone itself didn't want to capture them clearly. Then came the live stream. It appeared without warning, autoplaying in the middle of my feed. My ex lay in a coffin, dressed in black, surrounded by silent mourners. The camera lingered on their still face, so pale it didn't seem real. My stomach dropped. I checked their profile in a panic. Minutes ago, they'd posted a selfie, very much alive. My phone rang, shattering the silence. Their name flashed on the screen. I answered with a trembling hand. Their voice was raw, terrified. "Stop watching," they whispered. "Please, stop. They can see you now." Before I could respond, the line went dead, and when I looked back at the live stream, the camera had turned and was now staring directly at me. My breath caught as the camera lens seemed to bore into my soul. It was impossible. There was no way it could be real, and yet I could feel its gaze, like cold fingers trailing along my skin. The live stream no longer showed my ex's funeral. It showed me, sitting in my darkened apartment, phone clutched tight, mouth slack with horror. Behind me, in the grainy feed, a shadow shifted, too tall, too wrong to be human. Panic erupted inside me like wildfire. I slammed my phone face down, heart pounding so hard it drowned out every rational thought. My mind raced back to my ex's voice, trembling with terror. "They can see you now!" Who were they? And what had I let into my world by using that cursed tool? But the buzzing didn't stop. My phone pulsed against the table, vibrating with new notifications. When I dared to glance at the screen, messages flooded in from accounts I didn't recognize. Blank avatars, no names, only single lines of text. "Keep watching. Don't turn away. Closer." Each message appeared in perfect unison, like a hive speaking through countless mouths. I deleted the app, but it regenerated instantly, glowing brighter, its icon spreading across my home screen like a spreading infection. I tried shutting off my Wi-Fi, even yanking my router's power cord, but the stream stayed live. The battery percentage never dropped. It was as if my phone itself had been rewritten, no longer a device but a doorway. I forced myself to look again. The feed was no longer my apartment. It was a split screen. On the left, my ex alive and trembling, pacing a room I didn't recognize. On the right, me watching them. And beneath it all, a growing ticker of usernames joining the stream. Thousands, then tens of thousands, all chanting in the comments, "Two become one. Two become one." Then the split screen merged. I saw both of us standing side by side in a room I had never been in, under a single swaying light bulb. My ex's eyes locked on mine through the screen, wide with panic. Their lips moved, forming a word I couldn't hear. I leaned closer, desperate to read it. The feed glitched. Static swallowed everything for a heartbeat. When it cleared, the camera had moved again. It now showed my ex curled inside a coffin, pale and unmoving. The same image I'd seen before. But there was no crowd of mourners this time. Only a single figure standing over the coffin, me. The comments exploded into frenzied celebration. "It's done. It's done!" My phone buzzed violently, almost leaping from my hand. A new notification appeared, sharp and final. Final stage unlocked. "Your turn to stream." Before I could react, my camera activated on its own. The screen filled with my horrified face, eyes wet and wild. Above it, the viewer count skyrocketed. My ex's final message flashed across the chat one last time. "Stop watching." But it was too late. Past 3 a.m. The stream had strange, weightless hour when the world feels paused and even your own thoughts echo too loudly. Sleep was impossible, so I did what I always do, reached for my phone. The blue glow washed over me like cold water, and soon I was lost in Instagram's endless scroll. Photo after photo blurred together. Vacation reels, food porn, memes I'd seen a dozen times before. My thumb moved on autopilot, a rhythmic, mindless motion that felt almost comforting. Then something changed. A new banner slid across the top of the screen. It wasn't part of any update I'd seen before, just two words written in stark white text against a void black background. Eternal feed. Below it, smaller text promised, infinite content. Never repeats, never ends. My exhaustion-hazed brain thought it was some kind of joke, a late-night marketing stunt. Still, I tapped it. The screen went completely black for a breathless second, and then a new feed appeared. Silent, strange, and eerily pristine. There were no usernames, no captions, no likes. Just a single post. It was a photo of my childhood home. I froze, my thumb hovering midair. The details were exact, down to the crooked fence post my dad had never fixed and the faint crack running down the front step. The sky above the house was a bruised purple, storm clouds coiled tight like angry fists. A shiver crawled down my spine. I swiped up. The next post was a dimly lit hallway. My hallway. The photo had been taken from the perspective of someone standing just outside my bedroom door. I stared at it so long my eyes began to water, my ears filling with a high-pitched ringing. Swipe. My nightmares spilled onto the screen, images of places I'd seen only in dreams. The basement I'd been trapped in when I was 6, screaming for help. The faceless crowd that chased me through dark city streets. Even my recurring terror of standing alone on a cliff as waves crashed below. It felt like the app was peeling back layers of my mind, displaying my private fears for anyone, or anything, to see. Then I heard it. A whisper so faint I thought it was my imagination at first. I removed my headphones, but the sound grew louder, slithering directly from the device itself. It was my own name, repeated slowly, lovingly like a lullaby. My pulse raced. I tried to exit the app, but there was no button, no gesture that worked. I turned the phone off completely, or tried to. The screen stayed lit, the feed waiting patiently for me to continue. I swiped in a panic, hoping to reach an end, but there was none. Each image grew darker, more distorted, and then I swiped to a live video. It was me, sitting on my bed, phone in hand, staring at the screen with hollow, unblinking eyes. The whispering stopped, and the me in the video began to smile. The smile was wrong. It stretched too wide, too slow, like someone dragging a blade across fabric. My stomach dropped as the live video version of me lifted its hand in perfect sync with my own, but a fraction too late, like a distorted echo. Behind that version of me, the room looked different, darker, more decayed. The walls peeled, the ceiling sagged, and shadows clung to the corners like spiderwebs woven from ink. I screamed and hurled the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a dull thud and slid to the floor, screen still glowing. The whispering returned. Louder now, no longer a single voice but a chorus, all speaking my name. It was melodic and horrifying, like a hymn sung by something that had never been human. Shaking, I crawled to the phone and grabbed it. My thumb swiped wildly, desperate for escape, but the eternal feed didn't just show images anymore. It began to predict me. Each post was a snapshot of my immediate future, me picking up the phone, me gasping in terror, me stumbling toward the door. I swiped faster as though I could outpace whatever was scripting my life. Then I saw a post of my front door wide open. Heart pounding, I turned toward the actual door. It was closed, for now. My breath caught as a soft creak echoed through the room. Not from the screen this time, but from reality. The doorknob trembled, just slightly, as if someone were testing it from the other side. I swiped again, praying the next image would show me something, anything, that made sense. It was my own face, bathed in pale light, mouth open in a silent scream. The caption appeared beneath it, stark and final. "You will scroll forever." The feed no longer waited for my touch. It began auto-scrolling, images flashing so quickly they blurred into streaks of color and shadow. My name was woven into every frame, a thread binding me to the app. My vision swam, nausea clawing at my throat. I realized with bone-deep certainty that if I kept watching, there would be no coming back, so I did the only thing I could think of. I turned the camera on myself and hit record. My voice shook as I pleaded with whoever might see it. I told them not to click the eternal feed, not to swipe, not to look. I begged them to turn away before it was too late, but even as I spoke, the app fought me. Words vanished from the recording, replaced by static. My image warped, features twisting into a stranger's. The last thing I managed to say was my own name before the screen froze. The feed went dark. Then, with a single heart-stopping vibration, Instagram refreshed. A new live account went online, its username identical to mine. And on thousands of phones across the world, a new notification appeared. Eternal feed is now live. Tap to join. Subscribe, if you dare.